It is time for another Grateful Gratitude with Lolo Roberts. And today we're going to talk about Band-Aids.
Band-Aids.
I'm reading your notes right here.
Band-Aids.
Okay, let's go.
All right. So about a week ago, a little over a week ago, I'm a clumsy person, right? I'm very clumsy.
Was not aware of this, right?
Oh, gosh, my husband will tell you. But anyhow, I was coming down my front stairway, carpeted steps, took a little tumble.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't like a tumble, it was like a slide. So what happened is both arms got rug burns, of course, because I have carpet. My rear end was bruised to the hilt, and of course I won't even go into the embarrassment because...
Is there any video?
It is not on video, but okay, picture this. So my husband's in his office on a conference call, I think. I'm going down, he hears boom, 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 crash. Because I'm walking with my coffee cup, and I wasn't carrying a lot, and my coffee cup somehow went flying over the banister, just shattered everywhere, coffee up my walls and everything. And he's just like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But that's just my life. But so what happened was I thought I'm going to cover these rug burns because they're really sensitive, and the next day I go to a meeting and everybody's like, what happened to your arms? What's going on? They wanted to know the story. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I thought, what if people had Band-Aids on their heart and their head to say, I have a wound here, or I have a wound here. We don't do that. So with my outward bandages, people stopped me and said, are you okay? What happened? But we're not doing that with, like you sitting here. Mm-hmm. And I know people wouldn't run around with a Band-Aid on their head. But if you had a Band-Aid on your forehead, I would know that your mind was wounded. I would know, and what happened, I started sitting around this meeting and I started looking at people, and I saw someone who'd recently lost her mom, and I thought she would have a Band-Aid here. And I saw someone who told me recently they had depression, and I'm like, oh, there's another Band-Aid. Then I saw someone who's been trying to get pregnant, and I thought, well, there would be another Band-Aid. So it was really profound to me that I took a tumble down the stairs that morning.
And there's plenty of people walking around that will never, ever, ever show you their Band-Aid.
Yeah, they don't want you to know that anything hurts.
There's lots of people, and correct me if I'm wrong, that if you take the time to talk to them and ask, they'll expose it.
Yeah.
Or just talk. You don't even have to ask most of the time.
And when people feel comfortable
exactly.
and trusted.
Just going to say that.
Sorry, stepped on your toes.
No, it's okay. They'll let you know.
Yeah.
But there's also another group of people, and I probably fall into this category. I don't want people to know, because I'm usually not. It's very rare that I would need one of those Band-Aids. Mm-hmm. Very rare. Mm-hmm. And if that ever does happen, I feel like I can take care of it myself. But there's been a few times where I've called a pastor.
That's a good place to go.
Well, unfortunately, I'm friends with them.
Yeah, lots of them.
Very few and far between. But a lot of people, and hang out with pastors, this as well as anyone, they get to see everything.
For sure.
And so there's so many people that you think are living great lives and don't need the Band-Aids you're referring to. They're the most wounded you'd never guess.
Yeah. I think something to take it even one step further, because when I did the blog post on this, it was just kind of like it was just feeding into more, probably my own therapy. But I got thinking too, so a lot of people have that wound, they have that bandage over it, and I'm just talking regular cut on the arm or something. You take it off, and then after a few days or a week, there's a scar there. And I thought about that. I thought, when I worked in veterinary surgery for 18 years, we did a procedure called debriding a wound, or a scar. So what you would do is you take the scar area, and it was usually an area that wouldn't heal. It just kind of oozed and festered. And surgically, we would go in and we would remove those edges so that we had fresh edges, so it could be able to come back together and heal without that scar. So we were really just debriding an open wound that wouldn't heal. And I kept thinking, you know, even if we don't have that current wound, we may have that scar. And how can that scar be healed?
See, I like my scars.
You're missing the point.
I know, I'm not missing the point. I know it makes a lot of sense, but I don't get too deep because I can't. I'm not that deep of a person. But the scar reminds me, I did heal.
So, and I agree. Like when I do a single mom event and we talk about body image, and somebody's had a C-section that has a scar, which my daughter just had a C-section not long ago. I was amazed. It was only like a 5-inch scar. But there are.
Used to be bigger?
Oh, they used to cut you side to side. Okay. Yeah. But anyhow, the thing you think about is a lot of people will say, well, my scars show what I've been through. And I get that. But I'm talking about the scars they don't want you to know they've been through. Yeah. Like my first marriage or something. And I was talking to someone the other day too. Well, actually, I think it was this morning at the meeting, that the only way I could have compassion for what my first husband walked me through with his drug addiction and with a small child was to forgive him. And a lot of times the debriding of these scars, it's just forgiving whatever you're holding.
You and I may differ on this a little bit.
Okay.
Because what you just said makes a ton of sense. I look at it the other way though. You know, I think that you are proud, but you should be proud of what you went through and that you came through it.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, before you got here this morning, like maybe 5 minutes before you came in, I texted a woman that I know that had been through a ton 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I just sent her a text saying, hey, you don't need this from me, but I want you to know I'm incredibly proud of you. Mm-hmm. And she texted back saying, it's exactly what I needed today.
That's awesome.
And so I know what you're saying about the scars of the past and the things you've been through, but to me, those are badges of honor that you've made it through and that you came through those, and look where you are now and how successful you are, and you're impacting other people.
Well, I think a couple of things about that too is, you know, God is very prevalent in my life, and He's helping me to understand that healing. I speak openly about my life and the things I've been through.
Did you used to hide it?
Yes. I was in a marriage that none of my family knew there was a problem because, number one, I lived out of state from where they were. But yeah, no, I just glorified him that, you know, he was great, good mm-hmm. father. But again, those are those scars I am proud of. But if somebody is not using that as a ministry or a message, what they went through, mm-hmm. And they're just hiding it, like say you sit down and have coffee with someone, and you know and I have this pretty often, someone will say, you know, I just want to sit and have coffee with you. So we sit and have coffee, and finally it'll come out something about the past. And I don't know if it's because of the ministry and what I do, and of course it's something we would never know about that person, mm-hmm. but that person isn't ready to let go of it. Yeah. They're almost enabled by it, you know, like that controls them.
I can't imagine going through an abusive marriage or anything like that, but I can tell you this: we've talked about my situation and how I believe that one of the reasons maybe that I got struck down physically for a little bit was to change my direction. Mm-hmm. If I hadn't thought that God's plan for me was to share my message, mm-hmm. there's a very good chance I would have stayed in my apartment for a year and not let anyone see me.
Yeah.
And I would have just recovered.
Yeah.
Because I am recovering, and I'm going to recover fully. But I wouldn't want anyone to see that recovery. Mm-hmm. But I want them to see the finished product. Mm-hmm. But thankfully, once again, grateful for this. At least, you know, I may be mistaken, but my thought was, God wants me to share this. That's the plan.
I think God gives us the trials He gives us to give us the ministry. And I remember you walking with a cane and how mad you were that you had to be seen with a cane. Yet I looked at, this is a man who was laying in a coma on life support. Look where he is now.
And I think you may be one of the few people, and I don't necessarily think I told you this, but the only reason I did that was because of my convictions that was the plan. God wanted me to share the recovery, but oh my gosh, I wanted to get off. You didn't even see me on the walker, I don't think.
No, you wouldn't let me, basically, remember?
Yeah.
You went under the bed or in the closet, I can't remember which way. Yeah.
And but yeah, if I didn't believe that, if I didn't have that faith, I probably would have hidden all those scars.
Yeah.
All those cuts at the time.
But don't you, I mean, I feel so empowered by sharing instead of hiding. And the reason is, I think we did a podcast a long time ago about if it's out there and people know it, they can't talk behind your back. They can't, and it's so freeing. And then you start seeing other people who come to you and say, I've had this situation too. And that is so whenever you have a trial in your life, just think, how is God using this that can be a ministry or that others can benefit?
And then go with it.
Yeah. And don't tear the bandage off fast.
Now you're telling me.
Do it slow. So thanks for watching and listening, and until we see you again.